Another famous battle in American history is the Battle of Bunker Hill. That's the first real siege type of battle that we had against the British. And there's a famous painting of that battle by John Trumbull. And John Trumbull's the same man who painted all those huge pictures in the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol about the American Revolution. But in this painting, the British are literally killing General Warren on the battlefield. They got their bayonets over him, and they're stabbing him. And right to the side, there's two individuals that are very prominent in the picture that are featured there. And one of them is Lieutenant Grosvenor, who was one of the leaders in the battle. Standing right beside him is a black man, Peter Salem. And nobody ever pays attention. They always watch the guy getting shish kebabbed by the British with the bayonets. Right. Over here, you got these two guys standing side by side, black and white standing side by side. The black man, Peter Salem, is the hero of the Battle of Bunker Hill. He saved hundreds of American lives that day. He received 14 commendations from different commanders in that battle. He received recognition from the Continental Congress. He received recognition from the state legislature. He's the hero of the Battle of Bunker Hill. I mean, as the Americans were winning the battle, and they ran out of ammunition, ran out of equipment, and etc., and that was common in the American Revolution. So now the British turn on them, and they're coming after the Americans. They're slaughtering the Americans. And Peter Salem is able to find the British commander and shoot and kill the British commander, and it just stopped the whole British movement. They didn't know what to do, allowed all the Americans to get back and regroup and get where they could be saved. So he saved hundreds of American lives that day. We never hear about Peter Salem at all. He's a great hero in the Revolution. Another great man that fought in the Revolution, another story of faith, is Lemuel Haynes. He's a black pastor. He pioneered churches across New England, evangelist. When he heard about the battle, he comes to the battle to defend America from the British attack. And when finally we whip the British at Yorktown and kind of call it quits, and they throw up the white flag, he goes back home, goes back to New England, back to his churches. Interesting thing about Pastor Lemuel Haynes, on George Washington's birthday, he would preach a sermon about George Washington, his commander-in-chief, with whom he'd served side by side in the American Revolution. We have so many cool stories of black and white serving together, fighting together in the Revolution. And yet what we hear today are the real victim stories, which are there. No question they're there, but that's only a part of American history. So we have another whole part that we rarely deal with, but we used to know this. This is a great example. This is a history book. It's called Services of Colored Americans in the Wars of 1776 and 1812. It's written by an African-American named William Nell, and we don't know who he is today. He's the first African-American appointed to any post in the federal government. And we're talking back in the 1830s and 40s and 50s here.
When was this published, Dave?
This particular book is published in 1852. He has this book also. This is his bigger book, and this book from William Nell is 1855, and it's called The Colored Patriots of the American Revolution. Now, look at the size of that book. I think that's a fairly thick book. And you look at the lettering on the inside, that's a lot of small print. This is just about the colored patriots. We didn't know there was that much involved. See, this is the kind of history we used to know. It's the kind of history we used to teach. We just don't hear it anymore. One of the richest parts of American history is black history, and yet today, so many of us know so little about it.